Tonight on CTV News at 6. It's the first in North America.
It's been a long journey, and by next year, we'll be getting close to finalizing construction.
A significant step toward a cobalt refinery in Timmins shores. Diversion of care.
And research shows that optometrists can actually more accurately diagnose and treat sight-threatening issues than general ER staff.
Optometrists in Ontario say they can help the ER crisis. And marking a grim anniversary.
People are struggling and they want to be sure about their future.
It's been 4 years since Russia invaded Ukraine.
CTV News at 6 with Tony Ryma and Rick Wyman with weather.
Good evening. So glad you're with us on this Tuesday. 4 years ago today, Russia invaded Ukraine, causing suffering for civilians, forcing many to flee. CTV's Madison Merrier spoke to Ukrainians under the Canada-Ukraine authorization for emergency travel living in Sudbury.
Irina Latrina and her family made the heartbreaking decision to leave their home in Ukraine and move to Canada for their safety.
We left Ukraine in a month after the war started because my daughter, she was very afraid. She was crying a lot, and my son. The kids were the primary reason.
Tetiana Yuranets has lived in Canada for 3 years, but she said she needed to see her family and took the risk to visit home.
We had a shelling at 3 o'clock in the night. My mom, who is 75 years old, she was applying a lipstick, like trying to make up in the middle of the night. And I asked her why, and she said if we are going to die tonight, I need to be beautiful.
It's really bad. A lot of people who are here, even in Sudbury, they lost their homes. Their homes do not exist anymore. With our souls, we are in Ukraine, we remember everything, we know what is happening, and it's hard. Honestly, it's very hard.
Ukrainians here on special visas don't have the benefits of permanent residency, nor the benefits of their lives back home. Yuranet says they feel stuck.
How we are supposed to feel safe and build our life in Canada if we are not on permanent residence, so we can't apply for having a mortgage. Our kids can't go to college to study because they will be considered international students.
People are struggling and they want to be sure about their future. They want to be safe and know that, okay, I have this opportunity to stay here legally for a longer period of time or have to return to Ukraine.
Language is also a hurdle for many Ukrainians here on these visas. That's why Yuranets is hoping to relaunch English programs to help those looking for permanent residency meet Canada's official language requirement. Madison Merrier, CTV News, Sudbury.
And a solemn ceremony in Kyiv today as Ukraine marked the 4th anniversary of Russia's full-scale invasion. European Union leaders joined Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky to honor Ukrainian soldiers killed in the war with Russia. Today, Zelensky also talked with European Union leaders on how best to support Ukraine.
We discussed changes to EU legislation that would make it possible to stop Russian tankers and seize the oil they transport, and it's doable. We also spoke about ensuring that the 90 billion loan works for Ukrainians as quickly and effectively as possible. And because Russia continues its attacks on our energy infrastructure and our people, we discussed air defense and energy support.
And in the House of Commons, a moment of silence marked the 4-year anniversary. CTV's Annie Bergeron-Oliver has more on the anniversary and the promises Canada is making to Ukraine.
Every morning at 9 a.m. sharp, Ukrainians stop in their tracks. A moment of stillness and silence that today, 4 years after Russia's invasion began, was more powerful, and the world was watching.
We want to end this war as quick as possible. And really, each day we do all we can.
A big part of that work is rallying the international community and trying to reconcile differences like the future of Russian-occupied Ukrainian land that's brought the U.S. brokered peace deal to a halt.
Until the American government, with its military might and economic might, puts pressure on Russia rather than on Ukraine, I don't think we're going to see a successful peace deal.
Since February 2022, an estimated 1.8 million soldiers on both sides have been killed, wounded, or gone missing, and some 5.9 million Ukrainian civilians have left the country. Marina Shum came to Canada in April 2022 and says Ukrainians at home and abroad remain united and resilient.
Victory will be on our side, that's for sure. The international law has to prevail and has to win at the end of the day.
The Canadian government offering Ukraine $2 billion in military assistance, as well as more than 400 armored vehicles. Canada is also renewing its military training mission, Operation Unifier, for 3 more years.
It's a pivotal moment in our country's history, but also in the history of Ukraine and Europe.
Canada also announced new sanctions targeting what the government says is 100 vessels in a shadow fleet attempting to evade sanctions on the sale of Russian oil. Annie Bergeron-Oliver, CTV News, Ottawa.
In other news now, a Sault Ste. Marie judge heard sentencing submissions today for a Brampton man who pled guilty to child abduction after a 2023 incident in Thessalon involving a 9-year-old boy. Manoj Govind Balunakam appeared virtually while his lawyer and the Crown provided their sentencing submission to the judge. The defense asked this case be considered a cultural misunderstanding, given her client is not originally from Canada. Statement of facts say while the realtor was in Thessalon looking for properties, he lured the boy into his car with the promise of ice cream, a fidget spinner, and a ride home, then took pictures of the child. The Crown wants 2 years in prison, 18 months probation, and for the behavior to be deemed as grooming. The judge will set a sentencing date tomorrow. 10 years is the maximum sentence for abducting a person under 14 by taking or enticing. All right, let's shift gears and talk about the weather. Snowfall warnings and special weather statements on this Tuesday. To tell us more, here's CTV's Rick Wyman.
Oh yes, lots of snow for this evening and continuing overnight, and then we'll get a bit of a change. We'll talk about some of the temperatures that are about to affect us, especially on Friday. Some really nice temperatures and some sunshine coming back into the forecast as well. Our systems map, courtesy of Environment Canada. This is filtering through the Northeast right now as I speak. It started right across the Northeast. We'll check out some of the current conditions, Tony, just a couple of minutes, and I'll also run down the expected accumulation that you could expect in your neck of the woods coming up just prior to the 7-day forecast a little bit later on. Back to you.
Thanks so much for that, Rick. They feel they can help. Still to come on CTV News at 6. Optometrists say they can alleviate some of the backlog at Ontario ER departments. First, let's go to Sault Ste. Marie and a live webcam of the International Bridge. This is courtesy of the International Bridge Administration. It's minus 13 degrees. We'll return after this commercial break.
Pure Country 91.7 wants to send you to Sandals South Coast in Jamaica. We're giving away an all-inclusive Caribbean vacation for 2 every weekday. Listen for your chance to win. Pure Country Passport with Sandals Resorts. Get closer to the Caribbean.
Police in Sault Ste. Marie seized more than $17,000 in drugs after executing a search warrant on Arbor Drive. 120 grams of fentanyl, cocaine, and meth were seized in yesterday's drug bust. Officers also confiscated a handgun, packaging materials, and more than $5,000 in cash. A 51-year-old man and a 29-year-old woman are facing several drug-related charges. Police in Sudbury also pulling a large quantity of drugs off the streets over the weekend. GSPS executed a search warrant at an apartment on Martindale Road where they found $150,000 in cocaine and hydromorphone pills. Police seized $5,000 in cash from this bust as well. A pair of 27-year-olds have been charged with trafficking. UCCM Anishinaabe Police and OPP executed a drug bust on Chiging First Nation after a 29-year-old man died. On Saturday, emergency services were called to help a man in medical distress on a roadway. The 29-year-old was later pronounced dead in hospital. In connection to this investigation, police executed a warrant for a local residence and seized drugs, ammunition, and $30,000 in cash. 3 people are facing trafficking charges. 2 of them are facing manslaughter charges. Police did not confirm how the 29-year-old died. The province is looking at options to stabilize the healthcare system, and the Ontario Association of Optometrists say members can help, provided they're funded fairly. CTV's Lindsay Alick has more.
According to new research provided by the Ontario Association of Optometrists, 9 in 10 Ontarians feel comfortable receiving treatment for common eye conditions such as infections, inflammation, foreign body removal, and sudden vision changes from an optometrist.
We as optometrists have the specialized training, equipment, and capacity to be able to manage cases that currently clog our hospital waiting rooms. And research shows that optometrists can actually more accurately diagnose and treat sight-threatening issues than general ER staff. So it really is the right place for Ontarians to go to get this care.
Dr. Nancy says this can only be done if the current OHIP model, which is over 30 years old, is updated.
It does force optometrists to hold emergency slots at a financial loss to their practices. So that does make it unsustainable to be able to provide the frontline urgent care that the system desperately needs. So what we're calling for is fair funding that would immediately ease the pressure on emergency rooms.
This is something Dr. Corinne Briand, an optometrist in Timmins, says she experienced recently.
There was a day where I said, you know, it's a long weekend. We don't have anyone here. If there's emergencies, let me know. I'll come in. And I came in for 4 emergencies and generated $150.
At $150, Brienne worked at a loss. CTV reached out to the Ministry of Health for comment. In a statement, the ministry says they're taking action to allow Ontario's highly skilled health professionals to work to the full extent of their training. Adding this includes looking at proposed changes to allow optometrists to perform minor surgical procedures in the office under local anesthesia, use laser therapy to manage cataracts and glaucoma, order diagnostic tests, and independently treat open-angle glaucoma without having to refer patients to a physician. She adds that the proposed changes build on the work they have done, including adding 32,000 more cataract surgeries at 4 new surgical centers and investing more than $2 million in Sudbury alone, attaching 5,500 patients to primary care. Lindsay Alick, CTV News, Sudbury.
Officials with Electra Battery Materials have approved the construction budget for its cobalt sulfate refinery located in the Timiskaming Shores and Cobalt area. Details right now from CTV's Lydia Chubak.
Electra Battery Materials, located on the border of the city of Timiskaming Shores and the town of Cobalt, is ready for construction. The company's board of directors recently approved a $73 million U.S. budget and has a schedule in place to expand its fully permitted brownfield site. Officials say they've now reached the point where they can get the project that's been started and stopped since COVID across the finish line.
There have been a lot of startups in the critical mineral space over the years. We are going to be the first, not just the first in Canada, not just the first in Northern Ontario, but the first in North America. And so it's an honor. It's been a long journey. And by this time next year, we'll be getting close to finalizing construction.
Mel says parts of the plant will be commissioned later this year, and with investments and support from all levels of government, including the United States, what's needed now is people.
We need skilled trades to come and help us execute. We've got the major tenders are out for bid and negotiation. So you'll see us announcing that very, very soon. And then it'll be room and board, right? Making sure we get enough hotel rooms and Airbnbs in the area to accommodate the crews.
Mel says commercial production will begin next year, with about 60% of it being sold to LG Electronics. Mine feed will be imported from the Congo, and Electra Battery Materials will convert that into a sulfate that will be used in items such as car batteries, power tools, and cell phones. Lydia Chubak, CTV News, Timmins.
The Chiefs of Ontario is calling on upper levels of government to make local highways safer. In January, a fatal crash on Highway 11 near Hearst killed 3 people from Northern First Nations. The Chiefs of Ontario, in a statement today, saying these fatalities are part of a worrying trend. There have been several major collisions on northern highways this winter, many resulting in fatalities and serious injuries. Anishinaabe-Aski Grand Chief Alvin Fiddler says the government needs to take serious action in improving highway infrastructure and commercial vehicle safety and enforcement. These concerns have been shared with the provincial and federal governments by several northern MPPs in the last few months. Last night, Sault Ste. Marie City Council cleared the way for a local business to expand its reach across the province. The approval allows PUC to form 2 new companies to manage a huge transmission project in southern Ontario. Officials say while the wires are being strung down south, the high-level technical and financial jobs will stay in the Soo. It's estimated it would lead to 6 to 8 positions locally.
To focus our growth on things that are provincially mandated, things like that are funded through the ISO, things that are funded by provincial agencies, to create revenue back into the Soo, where we can create distributions back to the city that the city can then use for important things in the community. So what this allows us to do is to increase the net benefit back to the community and not do it on the backs of the community.
And Brewer says the project aims to modernize the province's aging grid while delivering annual returns back to the city. A legal battle over uranium waste used on an Elliott Lake property ended abruptly this week when an appeal of a previous decision was dismissed. Lisa Speck had appealed a decision from 2024 when the court sided with the Canadian Nuclear Safety Commission that it was not required to clean up 4 separate properties. That case had centered on 4 homes purchased without the knowledge that in the 1960s, backfill material had been taken from a decommissioned uranium mine site. The mine waste used had high levels of radon, which poses health risks. Speck pursued the appeal while the others backed down. But on Monday, the appeal court sided with the CNSC, finding that naturally occurring radiation, even when relocated from a mine site, doesn't fall under its mandate. All right, back now for a check on your current weather conditions. Here's Rick.
Big change from last night, Tony. Of course, very cold last night with the wind chill and what have you, but warming up that low pressure system, of course, comes with the snow. This is our forecast radar issued by Environment Canada. The system currently bringing us snow, and of course that will continue into tomorrow. Let's check out some of the current temperatures right now right across the Northeast. Let's begin in Moosonee, as we always do, -22, -17 in Cochrane, Timmins -16, and -16 in Kapuskasing. We have some light precipitation in scattered communities. Chapleau -13, some light snow, -10 in Wawa, -13 in the Soo as well. Meanwhile, Parry Sound, we've got mainly cloudy skies at -10. In North Bay, -14, some cloud cover there as well. In Timiskaming Shores, -16, -17 in the KL, Kirkland Lake, -15. Greater Sudbury with the snow, Espanola -15, Elliott Lake -14, and Gore Bay at -11. Tony, the 7-day forecast and more all coming up minutes away.
Thanks for that, Rick. Winter vacation next on CTV News at 6. A lot of people are happy. Canadian Airlines have resumed flights to Puerto Vallarta. And the federal government is asking a U.S. tech giant why it didn't flag concerns about the Tumbler Ridge shooter. Officials with U.S. tech giant OpenAI have been summoned to Ottawa to answer why they didn't flag concerns to police about the Tumbler Ridge shooter until after the killing spree. CTV's Judy Trin has more on what questions the cabinet ministers will ask.
7 months before the killing spree in Tumbler Ridge, ChatGPT identified an account linked to shooter Jesse Van Rutselaar for abuse and enforcement, but it did not notify police until after the rampage.
It looks like OpenAI had the opportunity to prevent this tragedy, to prevent this horrific loss of life.
Parent company OpenAI says it followed internal protocols, but the case did not meet its threshold to alert police because OpenAI did not identify credible or imminent planning.
I'm hoping that the OpenAI safety officials, when they come to Ottawa,
tell us more details about their safety protocols, their escalation thresholds, and how they keep Canadians safe.
Van Rutselaar killed 8 people. 6 of the victims were children. After the shooting, OpenAI proactively reached out to the RCMP to provide additional information.
It's important that we give them the time and the space to be able to do a thorough investigation on all aspects of what's happened.
But for AI experts, the killer's use of ChatGPT reinforces the need for strong legislation to rein in the technology.
They are barreling forward with the deployment of new tools and features and technologies without properly considering the broader safety implications of their products. And until we force them to do so, that will continue to be the trend.
The federal government is working on an online harms bill, but still deciding what content should go into the legislation. Judy Trin, CTV News, Ottawa.
Canadian Airlines are resuming operations to Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, after a deadly wave of violence was sparked by the killing of a cartel leader. At least 73 people were killed in the military operation that eliminated the leader of one of Mexico's largest and most violent drug cartels. A wave of violence followed as cartel loyalists set cars on fire in roadblocks across dozens of states. Mexico has beefed up security, deploying 2,000 troops to the area. Air Canada, WestJet, Port Airlines, and Air Transat all issuing statements saying that after reviewing the security situation, they will resume operations to and from Puerto Vallarta today, but are clearing up the backlog of canceled flights. Cuba continues to face food and gas shortages, along with power outages across the island. And as CTV's Heather Wright tells us, the Canadian government is talking about sending aid and what that might mean for the already tense relationship with the U.S.
Cuba is running on fumes, with some predicting the island nation could run out of oil in as little as 30 days.
We go through sometimes 21 hours without electricity.
Bisma Khan is a Canadian who runs a nonprofit that brings medical supplies to Cuba. She says fuel is scarce and food prices have gone up since the oil blockade began in January.
There's definitely challenges with transport. The medical system, like the hospitals, the clinics, the old age homes, they need a lot of supplies.
Canada plans to send supplies to Cuba, though it's not clear what that aid might look like. Global Affairs Minister Anita Anand said today an announcement will be made in the coming days.
Cuba has been, at the brink, close to the brink of collapse for many, many years.
Mark Manger is a global affairs professor at the University of Toronto and says the humanitarian situation was dire long before the U.S. oil blockade.
The horrible situation is fully to blame on the Cuban regime, but that doesn't mean that sanctions are an effective policy to topple it.
In sending aid to Cuba, Canada faces a balancing act in helping the Cuban people without further inflaming tensions with the United States.
This is a Canadian government that came to power on the basis of distancing itself from an administration in the United States that is very coercive. And this is a clear test case for the Canadian government to demonstrate how far it's willing to go.
U.S. President Donald Trump has said he would impose tariffs on any country that sends oil to Cuba. And while a White House official speaking on background would not say whether Canada would face any reprisals for sending aid, they did confirm the embargo remains in place with the goal of, quote, holding the Cuban regime accountable. Heather Wright, CTV News, Toronto.
A highly precarious situation unfolded on the East Perimeter Highway this morning in Winnipeg. Take a look. This as close as our cameras could get after Mounties closed both directions of the Perimeter Highway. You can see a truck and trailer dangling from the bridge on the perimeter. RCMP say it was the result of a collision that happened shortly after 8 a.m. Mounties closed the highway so crews could work to get it removed. We're told no injuries were reported. Stop the presses. That hasn't been said at the Boston Globe in the publication's 153-year history. But high winds and record-setting snowfall had the iconic publication call off printing its paper, the newspaper calling it an unprecedented decision in its online edition. The Globe's printing press is in Massachusetts' Bristol County. It recorded 81 centimeters of snow by last night. And there's more news still ahead, but first, here's your full weather forecast with Rick, and no 81 centimeters for us.
Hope not. Hope not. I'm keeping my fingers crossed. Okay, so Tony, for those who may have missed it in the 5 o'clock hour, we've got a rundown of the snowfall accumulation right across the Northeast. As you can see, Greater Sudbury 5 to 10 centimeters, Sault Ste. Marie 10 to 15, Timmins 2 to 4, Timiskaming Shores 5, North Bay 5 as well. Meanwhile, in the Moosonee 5 centimeters in Caphurst, Wawa 10 to 15, Gore Bay 10 to 15, Parry Sound 5 to 10. So now you know what's happening tomorrow and the next couple of days. Let's find out. Sudbury Nickel Belt snow flurries at -4. Chance of flurries on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Take a look at Friday. We've got 0. Then it gets colder again, -9, -12 on Sunday. Monday, -9. A couple of days of sun and cloud, so the sun and the cloud will return. Sault Ste. Marie, Algoma, snow by tomorrow evening, another 5 centimeters, so snow tonight and overnight and continuing a little bit. You'll get a bit of a break in the action, then 5 more centimeters tomorrow night in the Sioux. Chance of flurries Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, +1 Friday to start off your weekend. Then here we go, Sunday, Monday, a little colder, -11 and -7 your daytime highs, but you've got sun and cloud. How about Timmins, Cochrane, Kapuskasing? Snow, a couple of centimeters tomorrow, -7, -9 on Thursday, 0 Friday, chance of flurries again on Saturday, -13 and -15 Sunday. Monday, -9, but take a look, -26 and -25 overnight lows Saturday and Sunday. We'll need that. And a lot of dogs to keep that bed warm. Timiskaming Shores and Kirkland Lake. We've got some snow tomorrow at -3, -8 Thursday. Chance of flurries. Chance of flurries once again on Friday and Saturday, but you've got 0 for your daytime high on Friday, -9 Saturday, -14 Sunday, -10 Monday, some sun and cloud as well. So you'll go back to some colder weather just in time for the weekend. Now North Bay, West Nipissing, 2 centimeters of snow, -2. Chance of flurries on Thursday, -6, +1 Friday. Chance of flurries, and again, chance of flurries on Saturday at -6. How about -12 Sunday? You've got sun and cloud, and more sun and cloud on Monday as well, -9. Then it's supposed to warm up by next Tuesday, but that's a bit of a stretch, -1 by next Tuesday. And again, normally you should be sitting at around -3, so your conditions are all over the road. Some milder temperatures, then some colder temperatures, and the chance of flurries in our forecast. How about the pick of the day right now? Near Pancake Bay. Rose Russo managed to get out of the house yesterday and checked out some ice formations. I love the shots. This is north of Sault Ste. Marie, again, Pancake Bay, and Rose always delivers. If we're not talking about 12-foot snow drifts, we've got ice formations. Thanks, Rose. I appreciate it. Hey, still to come. It looks like new research in and around Sudbury is highlighting a gap in our healthcare system. That story minutes away. We're looking at the top travel trends in Europe for this year and how travelers can experience more culture, connection, and convenience on their next getaway. Karen Taff is my guest, courtesy of CAA. Welcome, Karen. Now, Europe is always a favorite destination for Canadians, but is it still as popular as it once was?
Absolutely, Rick. This is like the 3rd year running. It's a boom once again in Europe. They say 63% of our members are going to be heading to Europe this summer. And it's, of course, the ever popular destinations, the Ireland, the England, the Scotland, the Wales, Netherlands. People are actually looking this year for maybe doing a few countries, extending that expensive airfare and seeing a few different places, but they're really diving into immersive, interesting, authentic experiences. So they're looking for something a little different this year.
So we're looking at trends, European travel-wise. So is there anything that you would recommend in terms of maybe being a top trend or 2 or 3 that people should discover?
Well, definitely be booking early for Europe because, again, the popularity. But what we really recommend is checking out the off-season because Europe in July and August is busy, it's hot, it can be expensive. When you're going in the shoulder season, you can save a lot of money. You get a more authentic experience because not as many tourists, and the temperatures are just beautiful.
Okay, so length of trip. A lot of people like to go short. Some people like to go longer. What do you advise?
You know, it really depends on how much you want to see. I mean, you can do a really quick trip to Europe in 10 days and see a lot, or extend it out to 3 weeks and really immerse yourself in a lot of destinations. Or some people are actually doing long stays and doing like 3 weeks in a destination such as Portugal and really becoming a local while they're there.
Oh yes, Portugal. My son and his wife really enjoyed that. Now, itineraries for the average traveler these days, long, short, busy, maybe more relaxed. What do you advise?
So it really depends what you're looking for. We have a group department called Together Groups by CA Travel, and we've actually curating unique experiences that have, you know, a lot of interesting aspects to the tour, such as like in Scotland, we're going to be doing some whiskey tasting, or if when you're in Holland, you're going to be doing chocolate making. You know, you can be doing cooking classes in Italy. So it really, first of all, decide what it is that you want to do and how much you want to see, and then we can sort of build your itinerary around that.
Okay, Karen, the tough question. What's your advice for those thinking about that European vacation in terms of maybe would it be preparation or just the overview that you can offer?
So my suggestion is don't do too much. You know, really make it a relaxing experience and really get to enjoy a region. Maybe settle on, for example, Sicily and Italy, and really explore that one area. I mean, you can rent a car, you can do the trains in Europe are fantastic. That's an easy way to get around and really live like a local for a fantastic different experience.
CAA's Karen Taff. Karen, thanks for doing this. It seems like it's going to be a fun summer for a lot of people.
Absolutely. Happy traveling.
Thanks for that, Rick. New research out of Sudbury is shedding light on a gap in our healthcare system when it comes to youth. The study examined young people struggling with substance use disorder. CTV's Amanda Hicks has the details.
For young people dealing with substance use in the north, the emergency department is often the only place to turn. But according to new data from HSNRI research scientist Kristen Morin, that visit is often just the beginning of a repeating cycle.
Substance use is a really prevalent issue, especially in Northern Ontario, and youth is a higher risk group. And so these kinds of studies that we're conducting are really trying to identify ways to improve the system for vulnerable populations.
She and her team examined health data from 6,500 patients over 5 years. The results determined that youth experiencing substance use disorder under the age of 18 are more likely to be readmitted to hospital within 30 days compared to adults.
It's a good indicator of whether or not people's needs were met at the hospital, if appropriate follow-up care was conducted, because if they do come back within 30 days, then it means potentially that we didn't meet their needs, or that they didn't receive the care that they should have gotten, so they have to come back right away.
While adults often face long-term struggles, the research indicates a critical window. It says if a young person can make it past the first 30 days without returning to the emergency room, their chance of recovery improves significantly. However, for those in the transitional age gap of 18 to 24, the risk remains high, suggesting that as soon as they age out of youth services, they are falling through the cracks.
The main message is from this study is that the emergency department shouldn't be the end of care, but it should be sort of a place where we can set up follow-up care for people.
Moving forward, Morin says her research on this topic will continue to see how care can be improved and how community groups can help. Amanda Hicks, CTV News, Sudbury.
Warnings have been circulating for months about a scam involving people coming to test drive vehicles being sold on online marketplaces and tampering with them to get a lower price. CTV's Pat Foran explains one couple's security camera caught footage of people running this scam on them and led to an arrest.
I feel violated.
Mark Rafi and Carol Crawford were selling their Hyundai Santa Fe. Two people came at night to see the vehicle. While one man distracted Rafi, the other appeared to spray oil in the engine compartment and the tailpipe. After a short test drive, smoke was pouring off the vehicle.
There's all this white smoke coming out, and the other guy who was in the driveway comes running around and says, look, he says, there's oil everywhere.
The two men said the engine had blown and the car was worthless.
It was like, oh my gosh, something must have blown because there's oil everywhere.
Rafi was asking $7,000 for the SUV, but was convinced to take $1,000 for it. Only after they checked their security video did they realize what happened.
We saw everything. I said, we've been scammed. I said, this is a scam.
Following our report, we heard from other viewers who were also victims of the dirty oil scam. This video shows a man appearing to put oil in the tailpipe of a Lexus for sale in Newmarket. When it started smoking, they offered the seller $8,000 less, which they refused.
As soon as they came back, they popped the hood and started to show the seller that there was oil all over the engine compartment of the vehicle.
The OPP charged 3 men in connection with the scam after they tried to purchase a car in Peterborough. While there is no video, the fraud is similar to what others reported.
They tried to tell the seller that his engine must have blown.
3 men were charged with fraud, mischief, and possession of property obtained by crime. They are 31-year-old Maria Cirilla of Pickering, 26-year-old Constantin Tanase of Scarborough, and 22-year-old Michael Tanase of Ajax.
The vehicle that they were driving was actually linked to another occurrence in another region for the same thing.
If you're selling a car privately, don't do it at night. Have someone else with you, and don't leave the potential buyers alone with your vehicle. The 3 accused are to appear in a Peterborough courtroom March 10th. Pat Foran, CTV News.
They say they have figured out how Saturn's largest moon, Titan, came to be. After analyzing data from various sources, researchers theorize that about 500 million years ago, a lost moon collided with Titan and became part of it. The collision could also have led to the formation of Saturn's beautiful rings hundreds of millions of years later. The study was published this month in the Planetary Science Journal. Golden moment still ahead on CTV News at 6. Team Canada skipped by Sault Ste. Marie's Brad Jacobs returns home with a gold medal from the Winter Olympics.
Clothing provided by Laura, Melanie Lynn.
The Sexual Violence Support Center in North Bay, Amelia Rising, is receiving a generous donation from Airbnb. Amelia Rising is getting $115,000 to expand its counseling, prevention programs, and advocacy services. Amelia Rising says, on average, staff spend over 60 hours weekly providing individual counseling and supporting more than 20 clients. Airbnb made 6 donations to organizations across Ontario that focus on ending abuse and exploitation, combating human trafficking, and strengthening support for the vulnerable population.
Gender-based violence continues to be far too prevalent in Canadian communities, and it is something that we all have a responsibility to work on to ensure that we are equipping those incredible organizations and the incredible people that work at those organizations to address, to make sure that people who are facing these really awful situations have somewhere to turn.
This donation is part of Airbnb's largest ever annual contribution to Canadian organizations. The Sudbury Wolves organization and Indigenous Health Centre partner unveiled the jerseys today for a game that's set for Friday night. CTV's Alan Everson has more.
The unveiling of the jerseys the Sudbury Wolves will wear for the Indigenous Culture and Heritage Game. The design is by Thunder Bay artist Shelby Gagnon, who was commissioned by the Chaguaguaquay Health Centre.
It's the 13 moons, and with the 13 moons, it helps guide. It provides guidance to our people of Minno Bamadzawin, so the good life. And it was inspired by kind of like her vision.
There is also a turtle on the shoulder patch.
And that represents Turtle Island, where we reside and it provides for us from the land.
This is the 4th year for the Indigenous Culture and Heritage Game, and the team owner says it's about love, respect, and unity.
I think we all have to stand united and in unity together, and we're all peoples that must respect each other. So the unity is so important.
It's a little bit of togetherness for our community. I mean, obviously, there's been a lot passed with the Indigenous people, and you know, it's great to recognize that and build relationships.
The game-worn jerseys will be auctioned off after the game in a 1-week online auction. with proceeds benefiting the Shagog-McQuay Health Center and its programs and services. Alana Everson, CTV News, Sudbury.
Olympic athletes are home or on their way home following the 2026 Winter Games. Sault Ste. Marie's Brad Jacobs is bringing Olympic gold back to the city for the second time in his career. But the podium finish didn't come without controversy over accusations of a double-touching violation by his third, Mark Kennedy. Speaking with CTV News Channel yesterday, Jacobs reflected on the touch and the momentum shift that followed.
In the end, I think that they got what they deserved and we got what we deserved. You know, we just went about our business the rest of the week, tried to continue to make shots and curl like we always have. And we were able to come out as champions. I think the curling gods were actually on our side from that moment on. And at last night's council meeting, Sault Ste. Marie Mayor Matthew Shoemaker confirmed the city is in the early stages of planning a community celebration for Jacobs. And Jacobs wasn't the only athlete getting his feet back on Canadian soil yesterday. Many athletes from the Winter Olympic Games returned from Italy last night across the country.
So nice that everyone came out here and made signs and were like wanting to greet me, especially after a long day of travel. It's really nice to see the faces that I missed for the last few weeks and who weren't able to be there with us, but always were cheering.
Athletes were greeted by loved ones and Canadian fans, young and old, with waving flags and taking photos with the athletes. This year, Team Canada won 21 medals, 5 gold, 7 silver, and 9 bronze. Of those medals, 4 came from Northern athletes. Tracy Fleury comes home with a bronze, and Brad Jacobs, we told you, with a gold in curling. And Megan Oldham of Parry Sound comes home with 1 of each in freestyle skiing.
Entertainment brought to you by the Cinefest Red Carpet Patron Program.
New York's Broadway might be snowed in, but there's talk of a new X-Files series with a famous writer on deck to script it. David Daniel has more in tonight's Hollywood Report.
It's extraordinary. They put us in hair and makeup, which was specific.
Tom Hanks has played a lot of real people, from Fred Rogers to Walt Disney, but never a president until now. Hanks is set to play Abraham Lincoln in a film adaptation of George Saunders' best-selling novel Lincoln in the Bardo. He'll also produce the project through his Playtone label.
They all have some things in common.
Sinners writer-director Ryan Coogler is staying with the supernatural. The Oscar nominee is confirmed to write and direct a pilot episode of an X-Files reboot for Hulu. Danielle Deadweiler is set to play one of 2 FBI agents assigned to a long-shuttered division devoted to cases involving unexplained phenomena. The snowstorm in the northeastern U.S. closed Broadway for a second straight evening. Many theaters are traditionally dark on Mondays, but performances of Chicago, The Great Gatsby, and Six, among other shows, had to be canceled as New York remained under a state of emergency. The show will go on, just not yet. In Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
A new survey from BMO finds Canadians are setting ambitious retirement goals, but their confidence in achieving them is slipping. BMO's annual retirement survey found, on average, Canadians believe they need $1.7 million to retire comfortably. That's up from $1.54 million last year. At the same time, more than a third of respondents say they are unlikely to reach that target, an increase from 29% in 2025. Canada's 5 big banks are reporting this week, and all eyes are on market reaction. BNN Bloomberg's Lindsay Biscaya has more.
First up, the Bank of Nova Scotia, which topped estimates on better than expected results. Scotiabank saw earnings growth across all divisions, including domestic banking, wealth management, capital markets, and international divisions. The Toronto-based company has been slashing expenses to improve operations and says earnings growth should accelerate in 2026. And here are the closing numbers for the day. The Canadian dollar was down 2 cents to end the day. West Texas Intermediate dropped to 66.26. Western Canadian Select was up 11 cents to end the day, and the TSX closed on a new high at 33,970. Those are your business headlines. I'm Lindsay Biscaya.
And here are the current prices for some key commodities we watch. Gold down $99.54, closing the day at $51.30, 33 US an ounce. Silver down $1.39 to end the day at 86.76. Copper up a penny and nickel up 12 cents, ending the day at 7.98 US a pound. And Rick is back now for one last look at your Wednesday weather.
Tony, I don't know about 1.7 million to retire. I think I've got about $75 in my pocket right now, so I don't know how far that's going to get me. Tomorrow, flurries in Greater Sudbury, -4, Timmins, -7, a few centimeters of snow. Light snow in the Sault at -7 as well, and about 5 centimeters by tomorrow evening. North Bay, 2 centimeters and -2, 2 to 4 centimeters in Parry Sound with a high of 0, and -3 to Temiskaming Shores, 2 centimeters. So again, Tony, we've got snow in the forecast for this evening, continuing overnight. Greater Sudbury, 5 to 10 centimeters if you're scoring at home. Tony?
Thanks for that, Rick. And finally, the Toronto Zoo is celebrating the birth of an endangered Maasai giraffe. The female calf was born on Sunday morning and was standing within about 30 minutes. Zoo officials say the mother and calf are doing well and have been left to bond following the birth. They also say it took on a greater significance following the unexpected death of the calf's father, Kiko, last month. And we'll leave you with some of this video from the Toronto Zoo. I'm Tony Ryma. Thanks for watching CTV News at 6. More news comes your way at 11:30 with Ian Campbell. Good night.